Welcome to the channel. My name is Franco, and today in the workshop I'll be sharing with you guys how I plan on making a chainsaw bar length tool, also known as a length gauge. Now this tool will attach to the side of my Husqvarna chainsaw bar and allow me to measure and then cut firewood to the exact same size. That way I can be consistent. Now there's all sorts of different gadgets you can buy to do the exact same thing, but the main difference being on this one is that it's going to cost me $0. So let me take a look around the workshop and I'll show you guys what I come up with. So here's my Husqvarna Rancher 460, 20-inch bar, excellent chainsaw, and yes, that's a yardstick on there. But what do you think? You think this will work? I mean, it seems like a viable option. All you have to do is take these clamps off and replace them with some nuts and bolts, and you have a measuring system that could work, but I don't know how long it's gonna last. So as you can see, I centered up the 18-inch mark of the yardstick right on center of the bar. That way now you have 18 inches of cut on either side without making any kind of adjustments or readjusting your length tool. But with all seriousness, this probably ain't gonna last. Let me try again and I'll show you guys what I come up with. Alright guys, so let's get serious here. So I looked around the workshop and I found this shorty antenna. And it so happens to be the perfect size for what I need. It's 17¼ inches long. So I want to cut my firewood to just about 17 inches, okay? For both of my stoves. I have two wood stoves. One's a medium-sized stove and one's a larger wood stove. 1.6 cubic foot firebox and a 2.5 cubic foot firebox. So 17 inches is going to be compatible with both of them. This antenna is perfect for a length tool because it's extremely durable, it's flexible, and it's not going to break or anything if I end up dropping the chainsaw on its side. It's just going to flex. And the fact that the bottom is already threaded to accept a bolt, which is great. So I have this. That seems like it's going to work just fine. And then I found this, which is just like a magnetic hook. And then this part can unscrew. And I can take the hook out of there. So now I'm left with a thread here. But what I plan on doing is drilling this out and tapping it for a larger thread. That way it can now accept a bolt right through it. And then that way I can just thread on the antenna just like that. Okay, and then have this stick to the side of the chainsaw bar. Now this is perfect because what I want to do essentially is have this length tool to be ambidextrous. I want it to flip it either on the right side or have it sit on the left side. Yeah, that drill wants to wobble really bad. Let's see what the hell's going on here. Alright, I think this drill is bent. Let me try a different drill. Alright, that's a good one. It runs nice and true. If you guys don't know, when dealing with drill chucks, there are 3 points of tightening on this, so you want to tighten all 3 points evenly. You just don't want to crank down on one point and forget about the other two. When you crank on all three, what happens is it keeps that drill nice and centered, and you're not going to have a lot of run out. Alright, so in the attempt to drill out that post that was attached to this plate, it ended up releasing from the plate because it was just staked in here, and by the time I put all that pressure with the drill, it actually just ripped it right out. So what I'm going to do is just tap this hole here because there's still some engagement there. So I'm going to put the tap on this, and I'm just going to basically put like 1 or 2 threads in here just to have something, okay? But once I do that, then I'll have this sticking in here, and then I will have to shave down this head because the magnet will not clear. My hopes is just to put this right through the magnet, okay? And then I will JB weld everything together inside the plate. So first things first, let's tap this plate. Put some oil. On here. I'm using a ratcheting tap holder, which is great. I prefer this over the standard ones. Alright, so let's back this out. Just gonna deburr the holes on either side, that way there's nothing sticking out. Now I'm going to take the bolt and thread it right through. And there we go. So next will be just to grind off this screw head so it fits on the inside diameter of this magnet. That way I can totally clear it, and then I can insert this magnet back in there, and then I can epoxy everything in place. That took care of the diameter of the head. Now it's time to take care of the height of the head. I want it to sit down below the magnet, so I will be taking some material off the top. Alright, so far I trimmed down the head so it fits in here nice and recessed, and it looks really good. So the next step would be to cut some reliefs in here, or some splines. That way it'll give room for the epoxy to settle into the head and to give it some extra bite. That way this thing doesn't back off on me once installed inside the anchor plate. So next I'm just going to take some sandpaper and rough up the bolt head and the inside of this plate. That way the epoxy will stick to it and have a good bite. Scuffing up the surface really helps with the bonding process, no matter what glue you're using. So it's always a good thing to just go in there and with some fresh sandpaper and just scuff things up. That way you have a nice textured surface. I don't want to take off this plating that's on the metal here because it's good for corrosion resistance, but I just want to scuff this up just enough. So next I'm going to clean everything with acetone just to make sure everything is decontaminated and there's no oils or residue left behind. I did go ahead and scuff up the magnet on the side that I plan on putting on the inside of the plate, just to have a little extra texture in there. So acetone's really going to get the surface nice and clean, and it's not going to leave a residue behind. Unlike alcohol, sometimes depending on the alcohol you use, it will leave the surface wet and it doesn't dry instantly. That's not the case with acetone. It literally dries right up, and you're ready to go to the next process. Alright, so the parts are nice and prepped. Now it's time to get some JB Weld out here and get everything welded up. This is the JB Weld Quick Set epoxy. So I have to work fast. I'm just going to put this nut in the bottom, that way I have something to sit on. Once it hardens, I'm going to come back in and I'll just like flatten that out. I'll just take a file or I'll take it on with some sandpaper on a nice flat surface, and I'll just grind it so it's nice and flat. Alright, so I'm going to go eat something, and then I'll check on this periodically to see if it's dry, and then we'll go ahead and we'll paint it yellow. Alright, so here's the finished result. I have all the parts painted and they're all ready to go. And first I'll show you the magnetic mount that I just finished up. What I did was I took some sandpaper and I struck it off on the surface plate. That way I could have the base of this absolutely flat. I also got rid of all the excessive epoxy that was on this face. That way it would have the strongest magnetic pull. It is fully encapsulated now. The threaded portion and the magnet is totally encased in this base. There's no way it's going to come apart now. The JB Weld did a good job, and I have faith that it's going to last a long time. The second mounting method is just a plain old bolt with a washer on it. So this will go right through the existing through hole on the chainsaw bar that's used for the stump vise, and simply I would just thread it through and it would lock onto the chainsaw bar. So I'm going to demonstrate these two different methods in just a moment. One added benefit of having a two-piece design like this is now that I can choose either way I want to mount it on the chainsaw bar, or when I'm using the magnetic mount, I can actually add some washers to give me some extra length. So it's as simple as just slipping these over the magnetic mount just like so. I'm not doing it right now because the paint is still a little tacky. I don't want to slide these washers over it at the moment, but you get the idea. You would just slide this over the threaded portion, and then you would go ahead and then thread this onto the base. That way you could get another ½ inch out of it, say if you want to cut them a little bit longer. Alright guys, so now I'm going to demonstrate really quickly how to install this length tool on the chainsaw bar and how quick and easy it is to switch sides if you have to. So my first method is going to be the bolt with washer, and it's as simple as putting it through this hole that's already existing on the chainsaw bar, which is used for the stump vise, and then threading on the length tool. So this right here is great because it gives you a fixed point of mounting on here. So if you want to switch sides, it's as simple as just taking this and unscrewing it and just flipping it. So I plan on keeping it on the left side of the chainsaw. That way when I look down, because I'm right-handed, I'll be looking down this way on the length tool, and I'll be able to see the tip a lot easier than if I were to reach over and try to look at a distance to see where the tip is on the length tool and try to line it up with the end of the log. So this works for most situations. You know, your small limbs and your smaller logs, this could definitely work. So that's always a good option to have. And then the second option, obviously, is the magnetic mount I have here, which is going to be my preferred mounting method. So all I have to do is screw this on here. And the magnetic mount is really easy. All you have to do is literally place it where you want. This magnet is nice and strong. It's going to stay there. This seems like it's going to work just fine. I literally can just place this anywhere. I can put it right near the bucking teeth or even inside of the bucking teeth, as you see there. Okay. You know, you can place this thing anywhere on the machine. You can switch sides. As simple as that. All you have to do is take it off and put it exactly where you want. This magnet looks like it's gonna be plenty strong. You know, there you go. But like I said, I'm gonna keep this on the left side of the chainsaw bar. That way I can easily see it when I look down as I'm cutting. And I just think that's gonna work the best. So with this installed in the chainsaw bar, now I can cut my logs to exactly 17.5 inches. And if I want to cut them to 17 inches, all I have to do is cut them to the inside lip or face of this tip on the length tool. This right here on the outside of the tip will give me 18 inches. On the inside of the tip, it's going to give me 17 inches of a cutting length. So that's a good visual and quick indicator while cutting logs on the fly. It's going to give me the perfect size for what I need for my personal firewood, which is 17 inches. I like to standardize it and cut my wood from now on at 17 inches. That way it'll be compatible with both wood stoves, and I won't have a issue, and I won't have to come in later and cut some down just to use it in the smaller wood stove. So if you noticed, I painted everything yellow. That's not by accident. I actually wanted to paint it yellow because I want it to be all high visibility. That way if I drop this bolt, or if I drop any piece of it, I can see it easily and then I can retrieve it. But this thing's gonna work great. It's basically a knockoff, or my own knockoff, of the Firewood Buddy or the Woodcutter's Friend that you can buy on Amazon. But instead of spending whatever it is, you know, I just thought I already had the parts laying around, and I might as well just make one, since that's something I like to do anyways. I like to build stuff in the workshop here, and small things like this can be fun sometimes. And you know, you never know what kind of spare parts you have laying around and what you can make from it. So I encourage you guys to make your own Firewood Buddy, or whatever you want to call it, because making something on your own has a whole different level of fulfillment. And knowing when you use it time after time, knowing that you built something and it works for long periods of time, is such a great feeling. And you know, there's nothing like it. Well guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions or comments, please place them down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.